Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth,
And I'm Coach Victoria.
and in this video we're going to be talking to you about how do you know your ex has
Ooh, the
changed.
tables have turned.
Oh yeah, people are always upset. Well, how come you're always talking about us changing and not our ex? Well, we can't control what they do, but we can motivate you to take a look at yourself and help you grow, right? They're not the ones watching the channel. Maybe.
Right,
They could be
maybe.
watching the channel.
Maybe. Most of you would want your ex to grow as a person, to learn also from the breakup, to not be, just stuck in those same patterns as the two of you had during the relationship that led to the breakup. And so this is why we bring up this topic. It's not just one-sided. It's not just all this pressure on you to figure it all out, right? A lot of times on our calls, we dissect. We dissect both parties. We say, okay, what are the patterns here? What are the dynamics here? And so, of course, the best case scenario is that you're growing as a person and your ex has been growing as a person, and you can come together and form a new relationship, right?
That's absolutely, yeah. That's the ideal situation, right? Is that both of you are able to grow and make something a lot stronger and a much more loving, emotionally attuned relationship.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I love about these types of videos is that it switches the lens back over to you, and it reminds you that you also have a choice to repair this relationship with your ex or not. You can decide and say, oh, I haven't seen enough growth here to make me think a healthy relationship is possible, or wow, I definitely do still want to try again. I can see that they've also been developing as a person. And so it can be really empowering to have this kind of perspective.
Definitely. So how do you know though, like if you're in no contact and you're not talking to your ex, you're not reaching out, how do you know if they're changing? Well, one thing that obviously is a big impact on our life now is social media. And so sometimes you can see differences in the things that they're posting compared to maybe what they did at the time of the breakup or even before you dated. Maybe you're going to see some maturity in things that they're sharing, and it's not petty stuff about how they were dating a narcissist and blaming you for everything under the sun or implying it.
Right.
Sometimes you can see that a change in their lifestyle. Maybe you see them going out for walks or being more active as opposed to being out partying and drunk on the side of the road and peeing in the bushes.
Oh no. Oh no. They might even post less. So maybe they were very social media obsessed. Maybe their lives revolved around social media, and you're noticing that they're going out, touching grass a little bit more, being more in reality. So social media can give you just a glimpse at it. Of course, it's not going to tell you everything. Social media is just kind of like one little facet, but it can give you some kind of insight there.
Just something to consider.
Now, you also want to think if and when they reach out, that they are calm and level-headed about it and respectful.
You mean not angry and screaming at you and saying, I hate you and wish I never met you?
Right. So, if you're in no contact and you do get a message from your ex, what are they saying? Is it something to remind you about, I don't know, maybe something that they're really angry about? Is it something to bash you? Is it name calling? Is it kind of repeating a lot of the same drama? Or is it coming from a place of curiosity? Is it coming at least from the place of calmness, right?
Yeah.
So you want to check to see if there's that hostility there.
Yeah.
Another big thing is they might have a more balanced view, right? So they might not be ready to jump in from the get-go. That might be a red flag all on its own. If they were saying, let's get back together today, I'd be like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why? I'd be suspicious of that. But having a more balanced view, and this includes them being able to be somewhat accountable for their contributions to the breakup. Most exes probably are not off the bat going to say, you know what, here's a list of all the things I did wrong. I see it now. I've been enlightened, right? But somebody who's been working on themselves has probably done some self-reflection and is able to take some accountability.
Accountability is so big in my opinion, right? Because you're not really going to get anywhere with somebody who's just blaming you for everything. You're just not. The dynamic isn't going to work like that. They have to be coming from a place where they're at least taking some of the responsibility for it not working. Unless, of course, you were 100% to blame, right?
True.
I mean, sometimes you guys are lying, cheating, doing all kinds of inappropriate, unhealthy things. Maybe you were mentally abusive, emotionally abusive. You know what I mean? So you have to consider your own unique situation.
Right. It's case by case. So, yes, put that into the context. So, if it's less of a blame game that you're seeing for the most part, then that could show some signs that they have been working on their emotional health. That's what we would like to see.
Now, if you guys start to talk and they reach out to you, ideally we tell you to try and focus on having fun with them and just building the connection again. But at some point, there's going to have to be some discussion as to what went wrong and how to make things healthy with each other. So are they initiating any of these conversations where they're talking about things in a way that shows some growth or understanding to where things were before the breakup? Maybe they're talking about that they've been to therapy. Some of you guys were dating people that are dealing with alcohol issues or substance issues. Have they worked on those things? Are they in AA? Have they quit doing the substances, right? Or, so you're trying to take a look at what kind of overall growth they've made since that time. Maybe they've even learned about attachment theory. And you guys are.
This has happened more times than you would think.
Yeah, especially when you're watching our channel. We don't give you a choice.
Yeah, that's true.
It's been almost 10 years of me forcing it down your throat. You're like, no, I want no contact. And I'm like, no, you're getting no contact in attachment styles. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah, right?
But, obviously, with the change in the internet and all the different social media platforms out there now, there are a lot more good clinicians out there talking about this stuff. I recommend that you look for clinicians who have studied in the field as opposed to people that just make stuff up or steal it from other people. Wink, wink.
Right. I think I recently heard someone on the internet, I'll make it very vague, kind of just talking about how complex relationships can be with all of this information that's out there. I would much rather people be educated, try to educate themselves, than have nothing at all and just kind of blindly walk into things, right? And so we don't need to have a PhD in relationships in order to connect, in order to learn these skills and want to do better. And so really at the core of it is an eagerness and a willingness to improve yourself. That's really why we talk about attachment styles, is because it can be so insightful for so many people. It helps you self-reflect. It helps you look at your childhood. It helps you look at long-standing patterns. And so it's not to complicate things.
No, it simplifies it.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, having an understanding of why you behave the way that you do and why your partner behaves the way they do and their needs and your needs, it's so much easier to understand how to make things better. It's like saying, I want to make a pizza, but I'd rather not know how to make it. I want to just throw a bunch of stuff in there and see what happens. Or the option is, here's the recipe and the ingredients to make your pizza. Right. Well, back in my grandparents' day, Ma and Pa didn't have ingredients. What did they have? Dirt? They ate dirt?
I know.
It's like mud.
If I try to make a recipe without the cookbook, without the actual recipe, just by throwing stuff together, it's bad. Some of you cook very well, but me, I need step-by-step instructions, okay? So I understand. Sometimes it can be helpful to have this kind of information out there, these resources out there, to kind of have a better understanding of what your relationship is like, where it's going.
Yep.
And so you want your ex to have that willingness of they also want to improve their own lives and their relationships in general. You brought up a really great point about functioning. Are they able to show up as a better employee, as a better student, as a better family member, as a better partner, right? And so a lot of times when we're working on our mental health issues, emotional health impacts nearly every area of our life. And so you will be able to see if they are changing and growing through the fruits of their labor, through, how they behave in different areas of life.
Yeah. They don't have to tell you, I've changed, like some of you guys are guilty of doing, right? Because it's authentic, and you can see the difference. There's a big difference between somebody who's authentically grown and changed and somebody who's claiming it in desperation to try and manipulate somebody, okay?
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to see that with them just like they can see it with you. This is why we say don't go, I've changed. It's been 3 weeks. Now I know what you want, and I'm going to give it to you. Doesn't work. any more than if they did that with you and you're like, you're not changing. You're doing the same thing that you did before.
Yeah.
So you can see things authentically when you really take a step back and you're not, so afraid of loss or fearing that you're going to lose somebody, and you're okay with how the outcome goes. When you're centered, you're a lot more likely to see things clearly, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I dare to say that your choices and your habits, they eventually will reveal themselves, right? If there are skills that you work on consistently, they will show. If you think about the analogy of the gym, if you're going to the gym and working out a certain muscle, that is going to have some kind of visual representation of that change at some point, right? You can notice a swimmer from how their back looks because they're doing the same motions repetitively. You can notice a soccer player from their legs, right? They have a certain type of physique because of doing these repetitive motions, right? And so
with me, it's my glutes. I got a big butt.
What have you
No,
been doing
kidding.
for that?
People are like, we never see it. It's huge.
That's on the Patreon
Just
that we
kidding.
don't have.
Coming next week.
No. Oh gosh. So my point here is that, you'll be able to notice these things with time. Same thing goes with our emotional health. You'll be able to see in that person's life, you'll be able to sense it. Has this person been growing and working emotionally? Are our conversations just going in a cycle? Are we constantly combative? Or does this feel different? Do I feel heard this time? Whoa, wait a minute. What's going on here?
You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can see it.
You can definitely feel it and see it.
So it's going to take some time, right? You're not going to magically know what they're doing while you're in no contact. How could you? Sometimes people ask questions like that. It's like, you're asking a question that only God might know the answer to. How would we know?
Yeah.
Okay? You're not going to know that until you get in front of them or you're talking again and you're seeing, are they warm with you? Are they caring? Are they patient? Or are they still manipulative? Are they still angry and hostile and not work through some of the issues that you were having before? You're going to be able to sense those changes, especially if you've made those changes within yourself. Then you're going to be able to recognize it a lot easier in other people.
Right. Real recognizes real.
All right. So hopefully this one gives you a little insight into some of the things that you could look for. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.